Oh, it does work. Kia ora te whānau. Morning, Martin. We'll start with our Karakia, please. Nā mai, haere mai, ngā mihi o te rā, tiki te whānau, I hui hui nei. Tutawa mai I runga, tutawa mai I raro, tutawa mai I roto, tutawa mai I waho. Kia tau ai te Māori tū, te Māori ora ki te katoa, haumi e, hui e, tae ki e, ngā mihi nui. Good morning and welcome everybody to our last risk and assurance meeting for the year, and welcome to those joining us online as well. We'll start with apologies, and we have apologies from Councillors Gottlieb, Grant and Chair Bruce Robertson. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the motion, please? Rika, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. We now need to, as a procedural thing, elect a chair for the risk and assurance meeting. It's been suggested that I chair this. Can I get a mover, please? And a seconder, please, for that? And any discussion? All right, all those in favour? Thank you. And it's just should be noted that this is required. The election of a deputy is required under section 14.2 of Standing Orders, Local Government Act 2002. We have fulfilled that requirement, and it is an important requirement to allow us to proceed, and the proceedings that we do today are safe. Okay, we'll go straight to public forum. We have no public forum today. Okay. Any items not on the agenda? There being none, any conflicts of interest to declare at this stage? There being none, we'll go straight to item 1.6, minutes for confirmation, please, which is page 3. Okay, minutes for confirmation from 19th of August 2025. I'll take these as read. I get a mover and a seconder, please, for the minutes. I'll go Dally and Peter, please. All those in favour? Thank you. We'll go to item 2.1, draft annual report. Get straight to the exciting stuff. So this is page 12. And we'll welcome Hayden, Peter, just you two, and Aileen and Anton at the front, please. Anton, welcome formally. Already said hello earlier, but welcome to our last risk and assurance meeting. Nice to have you here.
Yep, thank you. And good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here today.
Thanks, Ed. Is this the one that we had, but this has got 2 pages? But this is 2 pages, the other one's only 1. Okay, so we use this one? Okay. Right. Okay. So where does this come up in the running? Oh, okay. Yeah, I know it. Okay. All right. Okay, so the recommendation here is to adopt the draft annual report, but we'll start by, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder to receive it, and then we'll open it up to the team to give us their summaries, and then we'll open it up to councillors for discussion, please. Thank you, seconder. Okay, all those in favour? Aye. Thank you. All right, we'll hand it over to Hayden, to Peter. I'm sorry, Aileen.
Yeah, good morning, councillors. So annual report is a backwards looking document. I always find at this time of the year, we're also focused on what's ahead of us, that sometimes it's hard to kind of stop and go, you know, what happened in the last financial year. The end of the last financial year was June, and it's even harder to think back to the beginning of the last financial year, which was July the previous year. So I guess in summarising the year, it's been a year where we've had relative stability. So if you go back to 22, 23, you'll recall we had 3 audits in 1 year because of post-COVID delays, and we had a cyclone, and we were still suffering from the impacts of COVID on the work program and on the community and the economic position. So the last 12 months for us has been relatively stable, but you'll see an acknowledgement in the introduction to the economic conditions that have prevailed in the community, which has also put pressure on us in terms of upward pressure on our costs, but also on our community and ratepayers. So also in the last year, we've had some significant change in our leadership around the ELT. So we've got new GMs kind of bedding in at this stage and up to pretty much up to speed now in terms of their roles. And if you cast your mind a little bit further back, we farewelled Gary Towler as our controller and welcomed our new controller. So quite a significant amount of change in the senior leadership in the last 12 months. Some of that is regrettable losses. A lot of corporate memory walked out the door, but also coming through the door is corporate memory from other councils, which is to our advantage in terms of using that going forward. Throughout the year, we ran 3 significant consultation processes. The team are now looking at the implementation of the decisions that you made following those consultation processes, but it's useful to remind ourselves just how much work went into those. It's potentially not obvious to the community just how much went into that, but staff were working very hard, almost tripping over each other in terms of those consultation processes and trying to manage them internally, and we made it. In terms of this annual report, I just wanted to set the scene that we are a $2 billion plus organisation in terms of the assets that we own. We're the biggest employer on the peninsula, and this is a pretty significant report that we do annually in terms of the scale of what and the complexity of what sits inside this. I just wanted to touch on public accounting standards too, because you hear criticism that councils are not transparent. The public accounting standards that we have to work to are significantly more comprehensive than what you would see in a private business. So a private business producing a single widget has a much less comprehensive reporting process than we have. And bear in mind, we are many businesses stuck together, and this council in particular has a very complex financial system. So in my view, the issue we have is actually communicating complexity, not necessarily transparency per se. And if we are worried about transparency, we have Audit New Zealand here, and Anton, as our audit director, will speak later to the process that we've been through to audit the financials and our non-financials, I might add. Yeah, so with that, I guess I shall hand over to the team and they'll go through in a bit more detail our overall financials and performance measures.
Thanks, Aileen. Mhm.
Yeah, so the annual report process is has been going on for a few months now. We start with a interim audit towards the end of June. So Audit New Zealand come in and do a whole lot of testing of what they can before June 30. And then they have come back, started last week to audit this annual report. So there's been a heap of work gone into it so far, and there's still a bit of work to go, but the team's done a really good job of getting it to a pretty good place, really. So yeah, just like to thank the team for that. In terms of the sections, I thought we'd just put a quick PowerPoint together to kind of go through some of the sections that are in the annual report, and yeah, so we'll just go through them basically. In terms of overall highlights, as was within the monthly results, we had a solid underlying operating performance. So all of the activities were either on budget or below budget, except for orders, which we sort of highlighted throughout the year, which meant our retained earnings increased, and yeah, we were able to then also meet all of our financial prudence benchmarks, which are like our key KPIs that are legislatively set. So the only one we didn't meet was our rates affordability benchmark, but we signalled that in the LTP. So what we signalled that we would do in the LTP, we've done. The other area that I thought was really good, and it's also been already sort of mentioned previously, is our rates debt has improved year on year. So if you look at the rates line in particular, it's come down about 100K. So considering what's going on in that's been really positive. Treasury benchmarks, again, all within policy limits, so we're happy with that. And then, yeah, expenses were all below budget with the exception of depreciation. So depreciation, yeah, we're still sort of, kind of working through that, but we've had like useful lives sort of come down, which wasn't quite what we were expecting when we were budgeting. So, but we were able to sort of manage it, but it's something we need to do a bit more work on to, work out, just make sure that we're on top of where our depreciation sits, really. Next slide, our priorities. So that's basically what we set as part of the LTP. So that was, being a collaborative district, a vibrant district, a connected and resilient district, and a district with sustainable services. So that leads on to all of our sort of the next sections, especially throughout the SSPs. Our highlight sections, Aileen sort of touched on a lot of them, but the highlight section basically goes through and highlights all of the activity that we've completed within the financial year, and it's pretty extensive. The overview of the finances, that is our prudence benchmarks, they call them, or our KPIs, and that's, as I was mentioning, that section there. We basically achieved everything except for the one, but we had signalled that in the LTP. Then the SSPs.
All right, so just going to run through really quickly overall performance for each activity. You can see we had kind of a 1/3 of the KPIs that were set out were met, and there are a number of new measures that are being measured the first time this year. So leadership and governance, we had a range of measures that we had a result for the first time, and so that's both as a result of the community survey and some phone customers responsiveness measures getting a result for, which is within the level that we expected. Just go next. Community spaces, similar results to last year, all measures were met, and so just some movement within those individual measures. Again, some staff survey results coming through here as well. Our protection of our people and the environment covers a range of activities. most of these were met. The one that was not met was in our coastal and hazard management, and that was in relation to planned delivery of seawalls, which have been deferred due to other priorities in those areas. So understandable that that wasn't met. Next. Planning and regulation had a good result for the year. All measures were met, which was an improvement on the prior year. So the sorts of results you want to see. Economic development had community development had some new survey results coming through, and overall a mixed result in that space. Just on our transport at the moment in the document, you'll see that there is a measure that is not measured. Through the audit process, we've identified that we do have a result for that, and it will be disclosed. So that measure will be updated, and we expect the result for that to be achieved. But there were also some of the measures which are not achieved in relation to resurfacing of sealed roads, which was due to increase in costs, and those meant that we couldn't do as much as we had planned to. Stormwater was we had the new survey results, but all of our measures again are achieved, so a good result there. Wastewater results were relatively steady to the prior year. We had one result which moved from an achieved last year to a not achieved this year, and we also had one of the new survey results, but overall in a similar position to the prior year. And water supply saw a significant change in the way that the reporting might appear. We have the new standards which are being reported on this year, and so there's a little bit of a change in what those required disclosures are. So spending a bit of time to go through and understand these ones would probably be quite valuable. The solid waste saw improvements and in the performance results, and so all achieved this year, which is a good result.
And in terms of the financial statements, yes, revenue was 153 million. Probably the big areas which we didn't achieve budget on were in our capital funding ones, which are like vested assets and development contributions. So we just haven't seen as much activity in the sort of development space, so we haven't seen that revenue, but that revenue doesn't directly affect operating performance. So yeah, and it can be quite lumpy depending on how, I guess, the economy's going at the time. So yeah, I guess when we were budgeting, we'd expected things to improve, and they just haven't quite improved yet. Expenditure, personnel costs were well under. They were offset by some contractor backfill. Financing costs were under. Other expenses were under, and it was just depreciation that was over. And as I'd already mentioned, as Aileen has mentioned, we have assets of 2.3 billion, liabilities of 122 million. So net positions, 2.2. So we're a big organisation. In terms of cash flow, we did end with positive cash flow, but a lot of that cash flow goes out in July. It's related to June expense that we don't pay until July. So looks good, but a lot of it goes out. In terms of our council-controlled organisations, we've got two. We've got the Local Government Funding Agency, LGFA, which we do all our borrowing through. They met all of their benchmarks except for one, and that one was related to they're not allowed to lend more than 20 million to a non-guarantor organisation, and I think they just breached it. They went over by 100K, and it was a timing thing, which was a bit unfortunate. And then CoLab met all of their benchmarks except for one, which was providing year-on-year value to councils, and they were under the previous year, so they didn't quite get it. And then I thought I'd just put this up as to our next steps. So yeah, audit started on the 22nd of September. It's going on as we speak. Hopefully we'll have a further draft on the 1st of October. Final financial statements available, incorporating ordinary change on 17th, verbal clearance 27th, hopefully. And then hopefully we can adopt on at the stage the 30th or 31st is the plan. Do you want to say anything?
Good morning. Sorry. The audit, as we said, we started the 22nd, so we sort of 10 days in. So, it's not really much for me to share in terms of findings or anything to that because we're still busy working through the process. We have had a look at the drafts. We've provided some comments to date. So at this stage, it's really hard for me to provide any guidance on where we are at this point stage. We haven't seen anything that makes me question any of the dates provided below. But if something did come out of left field that we weren't expecting, obviously that'll be raised up through the process to, I suppose, Aileen eventually. But at this point in time, we're not expecting anything at this stage.
Thanks, Anton.
Yeah, I guess, and that leaves us for any questions that you guys would like on that.
Thanks, Hayden. So, councillors, questions, thoughts? Terry.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for your presentation. I'm just raising a concern that I looked through, and that's obviously between the depreciation and the renewals, the gap between there. Could you just go through that, why the variation is such?
It's a good question, and it is one that we are looking into a bit more to fully understand. You would expect those to tend to move together. So we expect at the moment there's been in some asset classes a bit of a shortening of the asset life, and that reduction in overall life means that the depreciation charge is slightly higher.
Right. So with the revaluations, you do every 2 years, isn't it? Is what you do?
Every year.
Every year, is it? Oh, yeah. Do you see that getting a continual issue, or do you think that's going to come back together?
No, we expect that it should just be a this year issue, and we'd expect any future movements to track together.
Okay, thank you.
Can I can you just give us an example of what has been shortened? So just so we can understand what's actually happening out there.
I don't think Glenn's in the room today. Amon, are you able to speak to that?
Yep. Thanks, team. I can speak to it in general terms without specifics, but the audit process, we have an external person assist and provide advice. In this case, it was WSP, and they look across other activities in other councils. So they're doing revaluations for a number of councils, and so they're able to compare asset lives and asset movements across a good subset. And it's every now and again, there'll be a shift in terms of actually concrete pipes aren't lasting as long generally as we expect them to. They were 80 years and the industry saying 70 years. And on the face of it, that doesn't look alarming. It's a small adjustment to asset life, but when it works its way through the system, it has reasonable financial impacts at the end. So concrete pipes could be an example. We've got quite a bit of earthenware pipes. They're all pretty old and often need replacing. I don't have the detailed lists of movements, but that's the process that causes that change.
Thanks, Amon. Peter, does that help you?
Yeah, so in going through this process, are you somehow testing the validity of those assumptions as it relates to our assets?
Yes, and there's pushes and pullers in both directions. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but when you're looking at a pipe and you're looking across to say, oh, in Hamilton they're needing to replace them sooner, and in Thames we've actually got 80 years out of our pipes, and so they're still hanging in there, although cracking and needing to be replaced. You're getting pulled in two different directions. So in terms of validating, it's not a straightforward, yes, this is what's happening. You get pulled in both directions and need to balance the information to make a call on the life.
Okay, and so at the end of the day, there's making a judgment call, which depending on what your appetite for risk is, your judgment call might be here or here.
A little bit, and that's why we rely on the external advice quite strongly to guide those lives through the valuation process.
Delhi, please. Oh, sorry, Rico, I missed you. And then Delhi.
I got no lights.
Yeah.
I'm in. Okay, sorry, thank you. No, Hayden made a comment earlier. He talked about useful life. And I'm guessing it was just really want to say that. So I just needed to be clarified. It has been clarified. Thank you.
Through the chair. It's interesting if anyone in the community bothered to actually be online and watch a risk and assurance meeting, that question around depreciation and usable life of assets is quite often raised in community situations. Resident ratepayers, we don't want a new toilet, we want a footpath, what's wrong with our toilet? So it's interesting to dig into this a little bit because obviously there's industry knowledge. So from a depreciation point of view or a valuation point of view, do you have a whole pile of nationwide standards for different kinds of assets and how much wriggle room? I did hear that there was a value statement where people have gone, gosh, Hamilton's only got so many years out of their pipes, ours are all ceramic. How much is qualitative and how much is quantitative and how much is actually dictated by a national standard? Does that make sense?
It does, and I think in terms of the qualitative information, the asset management groups and external organisations have empirical data that they look at to establish what a reasonable life is. There's the, I guess, reality of what happens to a pipe in the ground and how long you might expect it to last, and that covers a range of years depending on a whole lot of factors. Then there's the accounting side of it, which if you have a look at page 99 in the document, sorry, I don't know what page on the agenda that is, that sets out council's accounting policies in relation to various types of assets, and that gives quite a broad range of what we expect the useful lives for those assets to be. And so that's a judgment call to an extent on what those lives should be and therefore how that's disclosed. That's for our financial reporting and how we choose to fund these renewals. There is also, for those who are more familiar with private businesses and businesses that pay tax, the IRD does set out depreciation rates for various asset classes, but that's less applicable to us here.
Thanks, Peter. That's a really good answer. So from a community point of view, I'm thinking of a layperson that hasn't got all these hoops that you guys have to jump through on, the fiscal side as well as the health and safety. If a community says we're really happy with our toilet, what we would rather have is X, that puts us into a position of risk, doesn't it? Because we know that we have an assessment tool for a particular asset. And this is a conversation, it's quite interesting when you go to ratepayer meetings, that comes up really quite often. And the only thing that we can push back, and I know that Reka and John and I have had that over the Koatunu public facility, is that there is a risk associated, and as an organisation we can't take that risk. Is that a fair thing to say to a community?
I think that decision around risk and how much risk you're willing to tolerate is very much a governance question, informed by the underlying asset information, obviously.
The advice from the professionals, which is you, as well as the documents that you're referring to, that is best practice. Yeah.
Thanks, Delly. Thanks, Peter. Page 115 of the agenda, or page 99 and 100 of the report. So if that's helpful, and it's all the depreciation rates are laid out, which is I found really helpful. I've got, who was first, Robin or Martin? Martin, and then Robin, please.
So this might sound like a fairly minor couple of questions as far as deep thinking or anything. I have just made myself a couple of notes just around some wording that really sort of leapt out at me. Towards the bottom of page 22, around the community survey, when I read that, the bit that says this involved asking residents and ratepayers who don't live in the district what they think of our activities, which to me made it sound like we just asked residents and ratepayers who don't live in our district what they thought of our services, and we don't really pay too much attention to what they think. And the other one I had was around the perception of economic development on page 58. So in the middle about our result, the paragraph it starts with respondents that felt, and there's quite a lot of stuff in there. I just kind of feel the bottom bit says, in response, we'll work to increase awareness of our economic development work amongst our business community. Reading the paragraph above, I didn't get that there was a lot of people saying that they didn't know what ED did. And it seems to me there's things in there about the unhelpful interactions, not feeling understood, difficult processes. I know there's a whole lot of stuff in there, but I just kind of felt that in response didn't really sort of mesh with what the survey results came up with. I haven't got an answer for what to put in there instead, but happy to listen.
Yeah, I accept what you're saying there. I think you're exactly right. There is a whole load of different contributors into that, and that's too narrow a response. So we'll take a look at that.
Because it's relevant to what Martin's saying. And I think with our refreshed destination Hauraki, Coromandel wishing to work very closely with ED, I think there is an understanding, like some of that is fair cop, even though it doesn't quite relate to the way it's reported, about being more visible and for people on the ground in all of our wards to have a stronger relationship. And that's no reflection on our ED team. I think they do a great job. But that relationship of both organisations working really closely together. So some of that commentary is fair, that they don't know who the people are or they've never met anyone from DHC or the ED team. And I think there's when there's a criticism, there's an opportunity, and I'm really confident that moving forward, both of those organisations will be more visible.
Thanks, Telly. Robin?
One of my very favourite things to look at is the non-financial performance stuff that comes through those SSPs. And I really appreciate how they've been presented this time around. So rather than just receiving them as a report, they sort of integrated into that. And there's a lot of good storytelling and lots of pictures, and it's just fantastic. There was one place where I just wondered if we could change the wording slightly, because I think the whole way through both of my terms, people have been saying, oh, this side gets more and this side gets more, and there's been this sort of east-west divide. And on the bottom of page 26 of our agenda, which is page 11 of your document, there's a disclosure about financial contributions to local community organisations. I think that needs a little bit more description about the fact that that is locally funded and at the discretion of the community boards. And because at the moment, the first thing that you see is that there's, tens of thousands of dollars allocated by the Thames Community Board, funded locally from the Thames ratepayer to the Thames community. And if you are missing that dialogue, it then looks like we just don't love Mercury Bay, which is not true, because they're locally collecting those rates in Mercury Bay and locally distributing at the local board, and yet have only funded 4 projects because their priorities have been different. So I really don't want this to be the opportunity for people to feel that, oh, Thames gets everything, Mercury Bay gets nothing. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Terry, you got something?
I think in the absence of Bruce, the chair, he's put some questions he'd like
I've
you
got
to.
them here, and I'll let councillors ask the questions first, and I thought I'd come to those questions from Bruce, and we can have some general discussion around those, because he's made some good points here. So, Rekha, please. Sorry, I missed that, Peter. Yeah.
Just you provided some narrative around the vested assets and the development contribution, but not really around fees and charges. And I can't, it seems like we're not actually calling out where the issues are with fees and charges. Are they not as much of a concern to staff?
The main area where fees and charges was down was the pay-as-you-throw tax, but in saying that expenditure was also down, kind of they offset one another. So from a, I guess, net operating sort of position, they were neutral in a sense.
And I guess the follow-up is, I assume that we will actually be using this backward-looking document to inform what forward-looking document for the annual plan is going to look like.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. Rekha, please.
Thank you. I just really wanted to support Robin, both of her earlier comments. I think I really enjoy the way that this has been presented, and I think there's really good storytelling in there. I just had a couple of comments, and first, and I know there's not a lot that can be done here, I just always reflect on how unfair it is for an incoming council to have to sign off this document days after being elected. And I know that that's not a criticism of anybody in this room. I know it's legislation, but I just always reflect it's a lot to digest, a lot to understand. It's all looking backwards, and it's just really a big task for them. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. One is on page 25 of our document, our order pack, and we talk about the Whitianga Esplanade redevelopment started. I think it's probably more accurate to say that there was consultation, because really, although there is a project, we don't know what that project is. So we did a big piece of consultation. That might be a better description. I wanted to understand at the bottom of page 45, why, and it might be in here and I might have missed it. We have a note under parks and open spaces where we were saying our performance was previously measured by community board area. So the results for the last year are reported differently. And I wanted to know why we're now looking at them as one district and not via board area.
I'd probably need to look into that, but I would, I guess, assume that it's on the basis of the contractors managed at a district level rather than at individual ward levels. Brian and Mo, did you have anything to add to that?
The only thing I could think of, which we'll go back and look at, is during the LTP, we did look at our activity structure, and there was that discussion about we used to have everything broken down by ward, and we wrapped that up into community spaces and places. Yeah, so with our Kath here, I'll just have to check that, but I'm suspecting that's the reference. Is the LTP
That would
change.
probably make sense. It's just I know that our communities look for this information at that sort of local level. On page 50, I don't know, maybe I was having a
So we
moment.
do have Leslie online. If you
Oh, does she want to? Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a hand up there.
Leslie, go ahead, please. Not hearing you, Leslie. Can you unmute? No.
She could type her comment in.
Thanks, Brian. So, Leslie, sorry, we're not hearing you. Ooh, the screen's changed. Brian's going to get in touch with you and see if we can get something through the chat or by text. Okay. Sorry about that. Rika, was that?
Yep, there's a couple more. So on page 50 of our order pack, when we look at coastal and hazard management, just looking at the targets and our results, I think that achieved can't be right if we've got a 0.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
let's update that.
perfect. Okay, thank you. And on page 64, I think that there's potentially one more stormwater project that you could add there, which is the design work for stormwater in Mercury Bay in Whitianga. So there's 3 projects that are underway. 2, and Brett will be the man that will be able to give you all of the intel on that.
Sorry, Rika, which page is?
Page 50. So we have, page 64, sorry.
64, so 50.
So this is the stormwater groups that we have established in Mercury Bay. And we have one in Matarangi, one in Cook's Beach, and we all, which have had some flood modelling work done, but we've also done some design work at a location in Whitianga.
One in Whangamata as well.
Yeah, so just for completeness, Whangamata Improvement Project is there. And on page 86, I think it's a great result. Well done to see that number improve. And I've said this before. Sorry, this is around the solid waste collection. I've said this before. I think we really need to do some sort of promotional work to build on that, to get people excited about or invested in or using that tag service. And then I've just picked up a couple of things which are like typos and things, but I'll give them to you separately. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, I can confirm Leslie was just confirming what I had mentioned. That's what drove the change, and that we had committed during the LTP, if there was anything that needed to be raised ward specific, it'd be raised in the commentary. So we can go back and just check with the team if there's anything that needs to be raised. Otherwise, it will from now on kind of be reported at that district level.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, thanks, Rika. Peter, was that you? Yep, a couple more. Sure. Go ahead.
Page 22, could I suggest we don't label it 3 waters? We label it something else because there's just baggage associated with the term 3 waters. Secondly, on page 96, the group activities. Would be interested to understand why the significant delta in our budget between 24 and 25 for leadership and governance. We've come in kind of basically where we came last year, but why we were budgeting such a big difference for the expenditure and the revenue for leadership and governance? Why was that? The expenditure budgeted to be 5 million more than last year. Do we have an answer to that?
I believe it was to do with a lot of the sort of IT cost pool, or sort of IT related sort of activities actually run through leadership and governance, run through the corporate activity, and we had been planning on sort of delivering,
and we haven't delivered on those
in the IT space. Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
And finally, just on page 107, I couldn't actually make head or tail of the narrative around other receivables, so I was trying to work out.
So the other receivables is basically that includes our NZTA claim at the end of the for June, which gets paid in July. It includes our TIF claim that again gets paid in raised in June, paid in July, and there's a GST refund. So all of that's current. It just it's current, but it gets billed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, Hayden, what's our tip claim?
There's NZTA, TIF, and GST.
Oh, TIF. Sorry, I heard tip. I thought we're working for tips now, are we? TIF, got it. Thank you. All right. Team, if there's no further questions from the floor, what I'd like to do is Bruce has very kindly sent us through some notes, and I think it's worth touching on those. Some of those, or a couple of those, maybe have been addressed already. But the first question, and I think I'd like to just throw it out to you, is he says, I always like to ask the committee, is this the year you experienced? So is reading through this report, is there a general feeling that this is reflects what our experience was as a council? It's a general question. Is there anything that leaps out at you? No, nothing? Okay. His next one, I think, has already been addressed, which addresses the question of the difference between depreciation and renewals. That's already been raised, so I think we've covered that. Transparency on reporting the community survey results, and he says, I commend council for undertaking the survey and publishing the results in the annual report. I suspect they are not where you collectively would wish them, but they did not seem worse than many other councils. So I've gone through these, and there's a couple of things that leapt out to me, which I would like to comment on. One is the planning and regulation results are truly spectacular. So Brian and your team, well done. And could you pass on to the rest of the team? I thought the results were fantastic. I was concerned about the economic development results because I don't believe that they're a fair reflection of the work that team's doing. I think they're a fantastic team. They work hard out there. And in talking to some of the people in retail and in business, they're hurting. Things are changing and they are struggling on multiple levels. And when they've got a survey put in front of them, I think what we're seeing is a bit of a reflection of the pain that they're feeling, more than it is a direct criticism of the economic development team. And that's the feeling I get, that they're not aiming directly at our team. It's reflecting the pain that they're feeling out there in the marketplace, retail in particular. And I got an earful the other day about the road closures because the retail, again, they've had a deal of pain, and then this just adds to it. Again, it's understood that it's not our decision, but they want to talk to someone. So those are the two comments that I wanted to make on that. Bruce has commented page 61 on road smoothness, and he's asked the question, we do not report on this measure. Is this a mandatory measure? And if so, how do we explain not reporting against it? I think we should anyway. So I could not see such an explanation. So maybe it's with some commentary from the team. Is this a new one? Because I don't think we've seen that before, have we?
No, so that's just as I was running through the measures in relation to transport, the road smoothness measure in the current document is not disclosed, but it will be in the final, and we're expecting that to be an achieved result.
I'm interested to see how they do that. Are they measuring 309 Road in Tapukara Glen, or what are they measuring? So yeah, I'm interested.
I understand it's quite technical, but I'm sure Mo could provide an answer if you'd like.
Any comments at this stage, Mo, or do we wait and see what happens?
Big roads because it's done by NZTA.
Yeah.
So what happened this year was in the past call-up used to do it. This year NZTA did it in the transition, and I think that's where we missed getting it into the draft report, but we've now got that information. It's across the district.
Okay.
We probably need to pour through the data to find whether they've looked at 309.
Okay, I look forward to that. Thanks, Mo. Page 107, note 9. Under this note, I would like to understand what the other receivables relating other non-exchange transactions.
Yeah, that was the NZTA and TIF and the GST.
Okay, all right. Oh, yes, of course, we've covered that. I would like to, page 127, note 21, I would like to understand what loans to fund interest on internal capacity loans are. Clearly, they relate to development.
Yeah, they relate to development contribution loans.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's the interest on those loans. And as DCs come in, they pay off the loan and the interest component. So, yeah, we disclose those loans. Yeah.
Thank you. Page 164, auditor's report, and he's saying, I'm sure Anton can update the committee. Anton, you've made some comments already, and you're not expecting anything to jump out as you work through your process, but obviously you've just started. Any further comments?
Yeah, sorry, I must admit I haven't actually seen what I haven't seen the page 164, but at this point in time, I'm expecting a standard opinion. Oh, it's blank. Okay. Yep. A standard audit opinion. If there is anything that warrants commentary, that would go through there's a process to follow, and we would obviously have to raise that with management in advance. But to date, I'm not expecting anything of that nature, unless in the next 2 weeks we find something, 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you. Peter? Go ahead.
Can I go back to, it's not related to this, it's a different topic.
Yeah, it's just discuss it.
I'd like to go back to the community survey. When you ask the question, is this the year you've lived? I personally felt a bit of a disconnect between the report and what I feel that I have lived. And I'm not sure I'm able to explain that, but I think the community, getting the community feedback is really a really good initiative, and to be doing, and I'm assuming we will do it at the same time each year so that we're able to marry up what the community is saying about the things that we think we have done. And the way you've built that into the report, I think is really good. Maybe it's because it's an election year and we're going around the traps and we're hearing about the dissatisfaction and the problems and what are you going to do about it kind of conversations out there. But it seems that the community are not overwhelmed or by what we have sought to do or what we have achieved. And perhaps that's reflected a little bit in the community survey, but I think it's really good and it's a fantastic way of ensuring that we all end up being accountable to the people that we're actually supposed to be serving by having that survey in there. And what would be really good is next year to sort of think, hey, there's a more alignment between what the community is saying and what we're actually delivering. So it's not a question, it's just a comment that I think the community survey, you know, to feel that the annual report is actually aligning with what people are experiencing and what we ourselves are experiencing, I think will be a positive step.
Aileen and then
Yeah, I
Delhi.
just wanted to respond to a couple of points there. Firstly, the survey is done 4 times a year. So the survey will take 4 snapshots across the year and at the end of the year aggregates it so that we capture what happens throughout the year and it isn't just a point in time because they can be quite sensitive to what happened 3 weeks ago in the media. So by doing it across the 4, we'll get a more I guess, representative answer. And it also targets folk that perhaps you haven't heard from and when you're about going out and about around the traps, the folk that are perhaps less vocal. So we get a snapshot that's more representative of the whole community. And I just wanted to come back to the ED one. And I just want to get away from the view that this was testing how people feel about our ED team. It is not. This is about how does your business feel supported by our council. So I just want to be really clear. This is not a reflection on the activity of our ED team. It's a reflection of how people in the community feel about our council as a whole. And when we talk about our council, from the perspective of somebody answering that question, it'll be about how did they interact downstairs with customer services, what happened when they rang the chief executive to complain about something, what happened when they applied for a consent or a building permit. So this is absolutely a collective feeling about the council as a whole, not the ED team. And I think had we worded this, what do you think about our ED team, we possibly would have got a completely different answer. So just want to be really clear that this shouldn't be seen as a reflection on that team who actually, for the scale, the number of people in it and the resource they have, actually do really well.
And I'd just add to that, Aileen, I think it's a really valid point, but I would also say elected members as well. Yeah, so not just the organisation and yeah.
Thanks, Aileen. Delhi, please.
I think surveys are greatly influenced by the stories that we tell, and I've been an elected member for 12 years, and I think everyone who knows me well knows that I've been bashing on about the fact that we don't tell the good news stories well enough. And I'm not directing that at any person in particular, but it's actually all of us have a responsibility, to let the community know honestly what's going on, but also rather than be reactive to criticism, actually front-foot it and put the good stories out there, because people will only have a beer at their local pub and go, you know, darned council, blah, 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 if they don't know what we're even doing. And a lot of people go, I don't vote, I don't know, I just pay rates, I don't even know what they do half the time. So moving forward, I think we need to get much, much better. 12 years I've been saying this, at telling the stories and letting people know what their money is actually being spent on.
Thanks, Delhi. Okay, so as far as Bruce's questions and comments are concerned, that covers it until we get further down the agenda paper. Are there any further questions or any further thoughts or comments from your team, Aileen, or from the team at the table? If not, we'll go to the resolution, which is on page 12. The resolution is that council recommends to council to adopt the Thames Coromandel District Council's annual report for the year ended 30th of June 2025. That one there. Yeah. Sorry, just make sure that I've got that one there. All right. So in addition to that, we've got 3 recommendations from staff, 1 to receive, which we've already covered. Number 3 is the one that I just read out, but in addition, we've got now number 2, which delegates to the Chief Executive the role of clearance of any issues arising from the finalisation of the audit to make any necessary changes to the annual report and provide oversight of these within the letter of representation. Do we need to put that on the screen? Fabulous. Look at that. Okay. So we're going to go back to number 2. And I don't see why we can't do number 2 and number 3 together. So if I get a mover, please, and a seconder. Peter, Martin, second. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Hayden. Thank you, Anton. And thank you, Aileen, and your team for putting this together. I know there's a lot of work went into this. Thanks, Jenna, for reminding me about that addition. Okay, that's a good idea. So Jenna, who's driving the bus today and doing a fantastic job, we are ahead of schedule and suggested we take a 15-minute break, which puts us back on our schedule. And I think that'll be helpful for the people online as well. So we're going to take a 15-minute break. We'll come back here at 10:15. All right, I think we'll make a start. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the team online. We're on item 3.1, page 170 in your agenda pack, and we'll welcome Paku and hand over to you. Thank you.
Morena koutou. So I'll take the health and safety report as being read. Just the key points I want to draw your attention to. We are undertaking a baseline review, which I've referred to in here, by an external reviewer. And we are looking to make, and his remit is to ensure he reviews the work we're doing in terms of our nasty 9. We're looking to receive the report back and developing a roadmap for implementation around those recommendations from that report. And why this has come about is that our new health and safety, we have a new health and safety business partner on board, and we thought it was time to take stock take and just gain an understanding of where we were at with health and safety. We've continued to roll out training by our external trainer on personal confrontation. Now, this is about identifying the signs when people are going to kick off, de-escalation and walking away from personal confrontation. It's been really well received by staff, so we've continued to roll that out. I've noted in the report a piece about land-borne inflatable devices. This is always a topic of conversation, but in this particular case, we assessed the this particular inflatable and all of the controls that they had in place, and we were of the opinion that it could go ahead. So that's that. If I could answer any questions about that, if you'd like. I got here? I think that's about it. I just open up to questions.
Thank you, Paku. I am going to ask about that inflatable device because when these things go wrong, people can get hurt, and this council knows that very well from hard experience. Can you give us any detail about what
Yes.
steps and measures they have taken to make sure this is safe and nobody gets hurt?
Yes. So this particular, it's all about the design in this particular case. So for this device, the specifications, there's no floor to this particular device. So it was grass. The second thing is that there was no roof, and the sides were netted. So they were nets versus solid walls. So they had, so with the specification, there's a wind tolerance. It had, so the wind could cut through that particular device.
Rather than pick it up and
Pick it up or push it over and twist it. The other things we needed to look for in this particular device was its anchor points and how they anchored it. Now there's a new anchor that actually screws into the ground, not peg. It's like a massive screw. So we needed to make sure that that was in place. On top of that, the staff need to be trained around supervision. And the last part was around the wind. Regularly, they were checking the wind, the velocity, the wind with the little meter as part of the process of, while
Fabulous.
people within that, inside that.
Thank you for that. That's reassuring. Terry, please.
Yeah, thank you, Paku. I was interested in number 2 there, the water treatment plant safety plan. You say today they've done that, have they?
Well, no, they haven't. So what's happened, what's evolved is that just getting an update from Brett this morning, earlier this morning, they are they have a meeting on the 15th of this month. It's a steering group meeting that will be raised again and again at the governance group level later on. So there's 2 escalation points for that one at this point in time.
So with Veolia moving out and city water coming in, is there a bit of friction? I hear there's a bit of friction going on as they
I'm not sure about the story to that, but yes.
I don't know if that's really public consumption either, to be honest.
I just wonder if that's playing part of this game, but if it's not, they should do one.
Thanks, Terry. Yeah, I agree with Delhi. Probably need to just take that offline if it's a concern. Thank you, Paku. Right. Anything else that you wanted to comment on or any questions? I'm just going to talk about on page 174, which I was really stoked by. We were impressed with the respectful way a staff member handled a potential personal confrontation regarding a young person who had slept overnight on the path outside the library. In this case, in the morning, our staff member kindly provided the person with a cup of coffee and a banana and asked the person to leave, which the person gratefully accepted and moved on. Isn't that lovely?
Yes, just in that, it's sort of like sometimes kindness can be like a strategy around managing personal confrontation. So absolutely.
It works so often, doesn't it?
It's real leadership, that is. Yeah.
So I was really stoked by that. Councillors, anything further? All right. If not, the recommendation is to receive the report on page 171. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Delhi and Robin, thanks. All those in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Paku. Next one.
All right, I take the assurance report as being read. I've not done a huge amount of activity on this in this particular area for this month. We're actually looking at a reset for our audit plan. So, and I really want to take the time to understand what those risks are that we need to actually review for the next 2 years. the project and program contract management review is we've all finished the work out in the field, and we're looking at developing the draft report. Again, this particular report is really important, and I also wanted to take my time with this report, just particularly if there are any issues that we needed to raise with it. At this point, there's nothing there that I'm nervous about, but I just wanted to make time that in how we articulate that report, that it's done in a way that that you can understand, etc. We are in the space of development, procedural development. We've been working on the community proposals process internally, and so this is an ongoing piece of work. We've got our sponsor, which is Jeanette, and we've had initial discussions with her around what that might look like. And our next step is to workshop what we think the process might look like with the actual staff that are on front of house that are actually working in our communities, like our area managers. So that's our next step in that process. We think it's a really important piece of work, so we do want to make take time to get that right, and because at the end of the day, it's the communities that will be engaging in that process.
Sorry, Paku,
Yep.
you ready for questions now?
Ready for
Okay,
questions.
we'll go to Delhi, please.
Yeah, I was particularly interested in the community proposals, and as you know, there's a significant one in Mercury Bay, and I understand from an operational point of view there would need to be staff workshopping that happens, but I'd also like there to be a point where there's an interface with elected members, because often with these community proposals, the conduit that they tend to use tends to be an elected member, and I'm thinking Bluff Road track reinstatement, suspension bridge as a really good example, that we become the touchstone. So I think it's really important whoever gets re-elected is part of some sort of workshop or discussion with staff, so we're all on the same page, so that we understand that you've got staff going back saying one thing, you don't want the governance saying something completely different or making promises they can't keep.
Thanks, Delhi. Did you want to respond, Paku? Any comments on that?
No, I think that's, yeah.
Sure. Okay. All
Your
right.
comment.
Martin, please.
Good morning. On page 179, under the income and revenue collection fees and charges 24-25, the third item down is not the third item. The second item down is considering a move to no longer accepting cash as a payment method. So that's saying completed and teams have implemented alternative payment methods. So I know that was done at the RTSs because of lots of issues with people breaking in to try to take money. So is that now a thing across the whole organisation?
Not necessarily. There are some places where cash is the only method, the method that has been it's considered, and where it's applicable, it's appropriate.
Right, okay. So potentially the ones where it's cashless may be ones where there's a higher chance of it being machines being broken into, or
yes, correct. That's right.
But the main council offices around the peninsula will still be accepting cash?
Yes.
Right. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Martin. I have a question, if I may, about on page 179, upgrade the current pass system at boat ramps to new technology in progress. And I know in previous times there have been instances where the collection units have been vandalized or damaged or tied to a tractor with a chain, blah, blah, blah. Can you talk to us a little bit about what those options might be and how they would work?
To be honest, I think this is more wider than just machines and things like that. It's do we actually accept payment, you know, online and stuff like that? So it's more broader than just the machines and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's looking at a whole range of options.
Looking at a whole range of options around that.
All right, thanks, Paku. Yeah, I don't think I had anything else. Councillors, any further questions on that? All right, in which case we'll put the resolution, which is on page 176, to receive the assurance report. Get a mover and a seconder, please. I'll move it. Shelley second. All those in favour? Thank you, team.
Okay, the next one up is the risk report. I take this report as being read. So in terms of our strategic risks, we have the risk and austerity, the austerity and affordability risk that we haven't started, but we will be doing a workshop on that. The strategic risk, health and safety, this is due for review. Now, as I said previously, we have got an external reviewer coming in to do, or he's come in to do that review. Now, this is going to form our view in terms of the strategic risk rating for this particular strategic risk. So I will be providing an update on that once we understand what that looks like and what the findings are. We have had some actions due for completion at the end of last month. The timing couldn't be worse. But what I do know is I've gained an understanding of just where they're at leading up into the end of the month, is that they are all in progress. So yes, they're all, it's just now a matter of going back and asking, have they actually been closed off and completed? And an example of, one example is obviously you're receiving the proposed elected members induction program today. So that's one of the actions in here. So I'll be rounding back with that. And our interim IS manager, Gareth, is coming in to provide you with an update on cybersecurity in the next session. Is on that.
Shelley, please.
Yeah, thank you, Paku. That's great. Excited to see the iwi engagement and participation work that's been done. And I see that the Māori Ward councillor will be part of that in whatever manner. Is that going to require more staff, or is there the capability within the organisation to handle that?
Kia ora, Councillor. At this point, there's capability in the organisation to handle that. And we are looking to, and there's also capability across the organisation generally, and we're looking to kind of, highlight that and formalise that. Yep.
Thanks, Janine. Quick question, if I may, Paku, on page 185, develop rates affordability tool to assist with decision making. Is there anything you can add to that just to give us a bit of insight as to what that's likely to look like?
I can probably provide an update on that. So it's a piece of work that is ongoing in relation to a bit of a GIS mapping, and we will probably look to include that as part of the development of the long-term plan, which really looks at kind of a spatial understanding of rates affordability to see where there are hotspots of unaffordability or how a decision will affect certain parts of the community. So it's quite a comprehensive piece of work to develop that, and we are hoping to use that through the annual long-term plan.
Thanks, Peter. So timing wise, middle of next year? in preparation for the long-term plan development?
Yes, that's when we'd expect to have it.
Thank you, Peter. Peter, other Peter.
Just a question around the capital program delivery on page 188.
Thank you.
So we're aspiring to get to 4. We're currently at 6, and we've done everything.
Well, yes.
Sorry,
We-
Paku, did you want to jump
Yeah,
in
so I
there?
just wonder if we pass over to Luke, because I'm not sure, while we've made a bunch of major decisions, there's still a whole lot of stuff bedding in. And if you want some more detail, I'd pass over to Luke for that.
Thank you.
Through the chair, essentially, we've done a lot of work in regards to how we're delivering our capital program. We've built a framework and we're and we're embedding that across the organisation. So what that means is a more disciplined approach and a more consistent approach to project delivery that should give councillors and members confidence that our maturity is growing in this space, which then knock-on effect of that is greater confidence that we're going to, over time, deliver our program as it's set through the long-term plan and annual plans.
So it'll move from 6 to 4 when we deliver a program. Is that what I'm hearing?
The movement is probably Paku. The detail behind it's probably me. So I'll defer to Paku.
So from my perspective, not at this point. As I said, there's actually one finding around, it was in regard to, or actions whereby the project team clearly understand how to use monday.com and all of the framework. It's just from my perspective, understanding whether the rest of the organisation are using those tools, etc. And that's why I've maintained it at a 6. We've just undertaken a review around program and project management. So out of the back of there, we should be able to reassess that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Can I just comment? I think, Luke, the work you've been doing is fantastic. And I think it is making a difference. I think we around the table would all just love to see our project delivery percentages be right up there. And so we're putting wind under your wings or whatever you need to get there.
Thank you very much. And I think it is about a journey. It's about embedding change from how people have been operating for many years. And so change takes a bit of time, getting people through a new way of working. It's kind of like if you're a musician learning a song, the first time you try to play it through, it's a bit slower and it's not great. But the 20th time you've done it, you're actually pretty fluent and you're playing a good song. And so that's the analogy I'd use in this case.
And the last person who said that they were on a journey was John Mitchell with the All Blacks and they lost the World Cup. So
Can I just also add, we still have some legacy projects coming through the system as well, which we have been reminded of in recent weeks, where things happen that perhaps we might have known about some time ago.
Paku?
I just wanted to make one last comment. So in terms of risk management and providing this information onto you, I'm not the actual risk owner. These people that have answered the questions are the risk owners, and they're intimate with what the controls are and how they're tracking. So I really just want to thank those people that chip in all the time and give you the straight answer that you need, because I don't own the risk, they own the risks. And I provide produce the reporting through to you and try to get the best information out of them. So just wanted to thank them.
Thank you, Paku.
So that sounds like the song "Don't Shoot You, You're Just the Piano Player."
Well,
Luke's been listening to my guitar practice. No, I just want to have one one more quick question on page 189, austerity and affordability. And I'm just wanting a little bit more insight into all existing financial funding streams are no longer guaranteed, and alternative funding sources and funding levers need to be explored to provide for equitable future community services. So does this, I know there's to be assessed on that, does this refer to things like Okakotahi funding for roading projects and our FAR rates and things like that? Is that what it refers to, or is it broader
It
than that?
refers to all of the above, actually.
Mm.
It refers to whatever streams there are, et cetera, and levers that we might be able, with that we've got existing levers, outside external funding arrangements, the whole gambit.
So there's
It's
a degree of
wider discussion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a degree of uncertainty
Mm.
in there. Is that something that you expect? It might be an unfair question for you. Is that something that we might expect that the auditor would be looking at and have a comment on in the same way that there was a comment made on the funding for the Thames seawall?
Mm.
Or is it too early to know the answer to that?
Yeah, I think we need to go through this process, and maybe at the end of this
Yeah.
workshop, we'll have some
Yes, I
answers around
understand.
that.
Yeah.
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 I
Too
think
early.
Let's go,
really.
yeah, too
All right.
early, and let's
Thanks,
go through
Bucky.
the process.
I'm sorry to throw that at you.
No,
but,
no, that's okay.
It's on your list, and I thought it might be worth some comment, but we'll park that for now. Thank you. Any further questions? If not, we'll get a mover and a seconder to receive the report, please. Seconder, please. John Morrissey, all those in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Paku. And we go to Treasury Report, Debtors Report, and we'll ask for Hayden. Here he comes. Welcome back.
Yeah, so is the debtors report, I'll take the report as read. Obviously, it's early days within the sort of debtors space in terms of the rates have just rolled over for another year, and we're only 2 months in. So, and we've had obviously no instalments due yet. So it's pretty early in that space. Obviously, we've seen a big increase in the arrangements to pay, so people are sort of reaching out and arranging payment options and that. We've sent, every year we send off, we notify the mortgagees, anyone that's got a mortgage, we notify the banks basically, and you were just going through that process, and then takes a little bit of time, but eventually the bank has to arrange with the ratepayer payment of those funds. So, yeah. Take any questions.
Oh, Terry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks. So I think this is a really important one to monitor, because I can just see this is going to grow. Very strong opinions coming out through the communities. It's not people at the bottom end, sometimes the people at the top end paying 4 times the average rate is just unaffordable, and they're just looking for ways to be able to do it. So I don't think this is going to go away. This is going to be a real issue. Then we need to be able to have systems in place to try and assist them at some point. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's a real problem.
Thanks, Terry. Councillors? Oh, okay. All right, it's a received report. So if there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to receive the report, page 192. Mover and seconder, Rika, Terry. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, team. Treasury report, Hayden. Thank you.
Yeah, again, I'll take the report as read. I suppose the highlights this month have been we borrowed $7 million through the LGFA, which we typically do in August. And we had a $4 million floating rate loan with maturity of 15th of April and a $3 million floating rate loan with 15th of May 2030. So when it comes to those maturities, we work with PwC to work out where the market's sitting in terms of what maturity we need, and basically look at where our debt profile is and work out what terms those loans should be, basically. So we work through it with PwC. In terms of interest rate compliance, we did what's called a blend and extend. So we already had an interest rate swap in place, and what we did is we got some extra coverage, so we extended it. So previously it was to the 15th of November 29, but we basically extended it out to the 15th of May 2032 to just make sure that our interest rate curve is in line with policy and that we're covered across in those outer years. So that's pretty much the activity we did and made within policy limits here.
So that fixed term rate on page 198, 3.7%. How long does that cover us for? That term you're talking about?
Yeah, so it's the fixed rate of 3.75 that covers us to the 15th of May 2032. Yeah.
You happy with that rate? It's a pretty good one for considering what's out in the market at the moment.
Yeah. So, we try and aim for rates under 4%. That's sort of where we look at on the curve, and yeah.
All right. So thank you. Any other questions, team?
Just a quick one, yeah. So it was noted that you go to the open market when you get these, and then you try and swap it out as you find it. It's a different approach than just trying to go for an interest rate that's low. So why is that approach?
So we go to, when we say, I guess it's the open market. We go to three banks. We go to ANZ, BNZ, and Westpac, and we say, we need an interest rate swap for this period.
Yeah.
Who's got the best rate? And then they've got they've got dealers that go away and then provide us the best rate, and we take whichever one's got the best rate, basically.
Yeah, so you don't do a fixed rate at the start. You go to the.
Oh, it is a fixed rate. So we ask them what it's going to be their fixed rate for that period. Yeah.
Will they? Yeah.
For the period of that interest rate swap. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so like the different banks can offer different rates at different times. ANZ might win one time. Westpac might have a better one the next time. Right. Yeah. It just depends on how well they price it, I suppose. Yeah.
Just a different approach. Okay. Good.
Thanks, Hayden. All right. The resolution on page 193 to receive. Can we get a mover and a seconder, please? Ellie, seconder, Martin, all those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you, team. Thank you, Hayden. And we'll go to item 3.6, proposed elected member induction program. And we'll ask Ariana to join us.
Very busy October, November.
Yeah. Up to Mario.
Kia ora koutou. I'll take the report as read. Just a key few points I would like to make about the induction program and what it will focus on: strategic direction and shared purpose, building trust and collaboration between elected members and staff, equipping elected members to govern effectively, strengthening understanding the governance practices and legislative process, embedding elected members' values into the council culture and decision making, and enhancing cultural capability and developing understanding of local iwi community partnerships. Excuse me, sorry, it's a little unwell. At this point, I should note that on the attachment for the 29th of October, we have the inaugural council meeting. However, with a few clashes, thank you. We are looking to move this to the 31st of October because we must adopt the annual report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Just before Ari does that, can I just say we're giving this to you for information because we received questions from various places and thought it was easier just to simply put the whole thing in the agenda for you to see. So the dates are all there, subject to the change that Ari's just mentioned, and this has gone to all candidates so that they have the dates also. So just level playing field is super important at this time of the triennium, and that's the intention in having this today as a receive report.
Thanks, Aileen. Councillors, any questions? Martin? Thank you.
I just wanted to pick up on something that Rebecca said earlier on about how daunting it can be in the fact that we have to, the new council will be signing off the annual report. I can't remember what's happened because it was 3 years ago. Did we have the situation where once the interim results were announced that successful candidates at that point were given things like the annual report, or does that wait until later on in October? I couldn't see anything specifically on the induction program about that annual report, and it just seemed it might be a good idea.
From my own memory, I do not think we provided them, and that's probably because it was still in draft. We possibly would have given them the one the year before and the long-term plan. They definitely would have had access to it to view and resolve.
If I could comment, I've done this process a number of times and it is useful to advise the incoming council quite early on that they've got a major decision coming up that they don't really have much choice about early on in the induction. So in previous years, I do recall having touched on it. I can't remember if we did this council, but certainly it's something we should probably talk to the incoming council about in that induction process without overloading them with a lot of detail that they probably won't be wanting at that early stage.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of getting that balance between
That's right.
overwhelming and like, well, I have to approve this thing. I haven't even seen it yet. So
And as Ari said, it's usually we're pushing the timeline to get a complete annual report with a complete opinion to council anyway.
Thanks, Aileen. Sorry, Peter.
Thanks. Just a couple of questions, really. Firstly, I assume that there is a reasonable level of flexibility in this because there could be a scenario where everybody is new and knows nothing, or a scenario where there is, at the other extreme, where there's actually quite a bit of knowledge that's already sitting around the council table. So based on what that looks like, that could change. That's, yep.
Yes.
And the second one is there any way that the community boards can have their meetings or have a special meeting where they elect a chair earlier than mid-November? And because I'm thinking that's one of the critical things is who are going to be the chairs of community boards, and it just kind of sitting down there, Mercury Bay on the 26th of November, people are thinking about Christmas, and just if it could actually be like up at the 1st of November and the meeting is purely to elect a chair.
Through the chair, we have done some consideration, but it's just very tricky to move it without actually embedding some knowledge into the elected members. I hear what you're saying, that we might get a lot of incumbents coming. But yes, this could all change anyways with whoever is successful. We are trying to be flexible, but we also need to have some proposed dates in place.
I take Peter's, oh, sorry, were you?
I've got Rekka and then Delhi. Next.
Yeah, so this sort of builds off Peter's comment is you have the 22nd of October where you have a power of the chair training session. Is that for all community board members? Because at that stage, on the 22nd of October, they won't know who the chair is.
Through the chair, that's specifically for the mayor.
Oh, right. The mayor. Okay, thank you.
Do you want to add anything to that, Una?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair, I'll just make a couple of comments. I'll just bring the mic a little bit closer. A lot of work has gone into this induction program in terms of trying to get that flow and the rhyme and the reason for the actual sessions that have been proposed here. As Ari said, yes, there is an amount of flexibility that needs to be brought into that in terms of that understanding of who might be around the table. But we've taken a step back from that to put together a program that is based on that knowledge, learning and the council coming together to work. So it is envisioned that whether you are a new councillor, a new community board member or a second termer, third termer, all of the elements in the induction plan will be relevant to you and how you work as a new council going forward. In regard to the community boards, the timing of their first meetings has been planned in that way to come after some of those sessions around how the council and community boards as a whole may work together going forward, and to giving that training and knowledge before they head into their formal meeting of adopting a chair and everything. So as I say, it is proposed at the moment, but that's the logic behind the planned or proposed dates that we have at the moment.
Thanks, Una. Delhi, please.
So yeah, my question was relating to training for the chair as well. So I'm just hoping that somewhere in the program, that one is specifically for the mayor, that there is something that probably all of the elected community board members can participate in, because they won't know who their chair or deputy chair is.
Through you, Chair. Yes, that's correct. So that one there is specifically in there to get prepared for the inaugural meeting. We will be looking at running some ongoing sessions around chairing and standing orders, but we haven't, that's almost like a stage 2 really to this plan. The detailed sort of standing orders and chairing we envision probably coming in the new year once we get through the bulk of this, how everybody comes together as a new council.
Whilst we're still members of LGNZ, there's a lot of really good resources on our corner, and and I'm often staggered by the number of people, particularly at community board level, who haven't read any of that stuff or even have taken in that they have access to it. And I think it would be quite lovely if people were given some optional homework, like, hey, it doesn't have to be a session here, but, you know, if you've been elected by the public, you should take some self-responsibility for some PD of your own. So even if they're given a list of stuff that they can access, which would be helpful to their own development.
Through the chair, just to note, we, with our induction, we are planning to have a welcome pack, which will include those dates. And through our governance calendar, we do send out reminders around those corner hours that they have on Fridays. Yeah.
Thanks, Ari. Terry and then John Morrissey, please.
Yeah, thanks, Ari. Yeah, very comprehensive. I see the note the 4th of November and the 6th of November, my governance role, TCD training, and the 6th is a community board framework. Are they going to be workshops here? And are they 2 days apart like that?
Yes, that through the chair, they will be workshops that will be held here
For everybody or just
for
councillors?
all elected members.
All elected members?
Yes.
Ari, is it possible to get another column in there which defines of those sessions, who needs to be there, whether it's community board, councillors or everybody? Just so that they know on that date, that session is for me if I'm a community board member.
Yeah, we plan to have a more detailed, this was just a high level, just to show the dates.
Awesome, thank you. John Morrissey, please.
You just asked my question, actually.
Oh.
I think it's a very good idea that there should be some indication of who's attending those meetings, but seeing as I've got the floor anyway, we're not doing any bus trips this time around for new councillors visiting other wards and things, Ari?
Through the chair, yes, we do plan to do that as part of that. How did you describe it? Phase 2, stage 2. So that's at the beginning of next year, we would like to continue the induction program. So there will be the road trips, the standing orders and the chair training.
And as John Morrissey flagged, we do have some significant road closures.
Yeah.
Which we need to be aware of on that starting Labour weekend with the Boundary Creek Bridge and then State Highway 25A as well, a bit later on in November. So I'll work around. Who have I missed? Anybody? No? All right. Thank you, Ari. We'll put the resolution, which is to receive the report on page 201. We're going to move into seconder, please. Delhi, seconder. Terry, all those in favour? Aye. Thanks, team. Thank you, Ari.
Thank you.
Big piece of work, big piece of work. You guys really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Yeah, good. Okay, we are at report to exclude the public time. So Reka moves, seconder, please. Seconder, John Morrissey. All right, all those in favour? Thank you. While we're setting up, I'm going to take a bathroom break. If anyone else needs a bathroom break, then let's do it now, just while the team is setting up for it.